The journey begins not with grand rituals or external proofs, but with a quiet acknowledgement of consciousness as the sole reality behind every scene of life. Neville Goddard emphasized that God is not an external judge or distant force, but the awareness in which all things arise and dissolve. Imagine if, instead of viewing personal struggles as punishments or random events, they were seen as temporary reflections of unconscious assumptions playing out on the screen of experience. The law of assumption operates silently. Whatever state is impressed upon the subconscious through feeling becomes the blueprint for manifestation. To assume I am limited invites more limitations. To assume I am God in form begins to reshape the world in alignment with boundless possibility. Many carry a deep inner ache, a sense that something vital has been overlooked amid the rush of daily survival and unmet desires. Yet Neville's teachings point to a reversal. The human form is not a prison for the soul, but the chosen vessel through which divine imagination expresses itself creatively. What unspoken beliefs about worthiness or power have quietly scripted scenes of delay and disappointment, even as the power to rewrite them resides within? Becoming the person desired happens not through future striving, but by inhabiting that identity in imagination today, feeling its reality as already true. In this way, the law of assumption transforms vague hopes into living facts, drawn from the depth of one's own divine nature. This truth challenges the common view that divinity resides only in sacred places or enlightened states far away. From Neville Goddard's insights, it becomes clear that God in human form means every thought, every felt assumption, is a creative act shaping the outer world to match the inner one. How does life change when one stops chasing external validation and starts assuming inner completeness, knowing that consciousness is the only mover and shaper? The invitation is immediate. Dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, as if the desired state were already the case, and watch reality conform. No force or struggle required, just the gentle persistence of a new assumption taking root in the fertile soil of awareness. In essence, to recognize oneself as God in human form is to awaken to the power of assumption as the bridge between inner truth and outer experience. Neville taught that by assuming the feeling of the end result now, one steps into the role of creator, no longer a passive observer in someone else's story. What worlds might unfold if this were lived not as theory, but as the simplest daily practice of choosing empowering states over limiting ones? The transformation is subtle at first, then profound, as circumstances align with the assumed reality of divine wholeness expressed through human life. This is the heart of Neville's revelation. Assume now, and become now. The law of assumption rests on a foundational truth. Consciousness is the only reality, and all external conditions are its projections, faithfully reflecting inner states without judgment or delay. In the lessons learned from reading the works of Neville Goddard, this principle unfolds as the mechanism through which God in human form creates worlds from within. Unlike mechanical laws of physics, this operates through feeling and acceptance. When a state is assumed to be true with quiet conviction, it gathers momentum until it dominates the entire field of experience. The outer world, far from being an independent force, becomes a mirror polishing itself to match the image held in imagination. What inner scenes have been unconsciously replayed, drawing similar outcomes while the power to select a new script lay dormant within? Picture the mind as an ocean, where surface waves of circumstances arise from depths of assumed beliefs long submerged and forgotten. Neville Goddard illustrated this vividly. Just as a seed assumes the form of the tree it will become, so must one assume the feelings of the fulfilled desire before any evidence appears. How often has the habit of reacting to the seen, rather than originating from the unseen, kept individuals anchored in unwanted realities? Bruce Lipton's work on epigenetics supports this ancient wisdom, showing how beliefs literally switch genes on or off, proving that inner assumptions sculpt biology and beyond. The contrast is stark. The masses live from the effect back to the cause, endlessly chasing. The awakened live from cause to effect, assuming and allowing. Living from assumption means no longer outsourcing personal power to people, events, or time itself. Neville emphasized that to become the desired person requires entering the state of that person now, through sensory-rich imagination where the wish feels natural and complete. Is it possible that the persistence of lack stems not from scarcity in the world, but from a subtle refusal to feel abundance as one's own current truth? This law demands courage, to dwell in the end amid contrary appearances, trusting that consciousness, as God incarnate, cannot fail to express what it has claimed. Those who grasp this shift from victims of circumstance to conscious directors, their lives blooming in ways once deemed impossible. The depth of this teaching reveals why superficial affirmations often fail. they lack the felt reality of assumption. From Neville's profound insights, true assumption saturates the being, making the imagined state more real than the senses until the senses conform. Consider how many dwell in anxiety about futures not yet born, unknowingly assuming states of fear that birth exactly those futures. Greg Braden's explorations of the heart's coherent field echo this, demonstrating how emotional states broadcast realities into the quantum canvas of existence. The awakened path contrasts sharply. Assume peace now, and peace organizes the chaos. Assume fulfillment, and voids fill themselves harmoniously. At its core, the law of assumption empowers God in human form to revise any script through revised inner states. Neville taught that revision in imagination, replaying scenes with desired outcomes felt as real, erases past impressions and plants new ones effortlessly. What if the key to instant shifts lies not in more action, but in deeper surrender to the assumption that I am already possesses all needed? This practice bridges the gap between human longing and divine creation, inviting a life where desires materialize as naturally as breath follows intention. In assuming boldly, one steps fully into the role of creator, transforming existence from struggle to serene expression. The law of assumption gains even greater clarity when understood as the divine mechanism through which consciousness shapes form from formless potential. In the lessons learned from reading the works of Neville Goddard, it becomes evident that assuming a new state dissolves old limitations like sunlight melting fog. Far from abstract theory, this law invites immersion in vivid scenes where the desired identity feels tangible, spoken, and lived in the present moment. Resistance arises only when old habits cling to familiar pains, but gentle persistence in the new assumption rewires the entire experiential field. How long might freedom be delayed by insisting on evidence before daring to feel the truth within? Metaphors illuminate this process. Just as an actor fully embodies a role to convince an audience, so must one embody the wished-for self to convince reality itself. Neville Goddard described imagination as the womb of creation, where assumptions nursed in feeling give birth to matching circumstances. While most react to problems by amplifying them through attention, the wise redirect focus to solutions already resolved in inner vision. Joe Dispenza's research on neuroplasticity confirms this, revealing how elevated emotions literally rewire neural pathways toward new realities. The majority drifts through life assuming lack by default. The few who assume abundance craft lives of quiet miracles unfolding daily. To live as God in human form requires vigilance over assumptions, recognizing that every recurring challenge whispers back an inner belief seeking release. Neville's method is precise. Construct a scene implying the wish fulfilled, loop it in imagination until it dominates, then release with faith in its unfolding. What hidden convictions about self-worth have scripted endless rehearsals of unworthiness, even as infinite potential hums beneath? This practice demands no outer change first, only the inner conviction that consciousness, as sole cause, responds inevitably to what it accepts as true. In time, behaviors align, relationships transform, and synchronicities confirm the new dominant state. The elegance of assumption lies in its simplicity. No complex techniques, just the natural power of feeling the end from the beginning. From Neville's enduring wisdom, it's clear that doubting the law is like doubting gravity. Both operate regardless of belief, but awareness harnesses them consciously. Imagine the liberation of dropping all striving, knowing that to assume health brings vitality, to assume harmony draws supportive connections. Tom Campbell's views on consciousness as simulator align here, positing reality as a feedback loop refining inner states through experience. Those trapped in reaction cycles chase effects. Masters of assumption originate causes, their worlds reshaping with elegant precision. Ultimately, deepening into the law reveals it as the breath of creation itself, inhaled as desire, exhaled as manifestation. Neville urged living from the end. Feel success now, security now, love now, and watch these feelings clothe themselves in form. How might existence expand if every evening closed with scenes of triumph assumed as accomplished, rather than worries projected forward? This sustained inner practice awakens God in human form to its authoring role, turning ordinary days into tapestries of intentional wonder. Assumption, faithfully applied, proves that the desired life is not earned, but claimed through inner sovereignty. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, a revelation unfolds that speaks directly to the creative essence dwelling within every human being. God created humankind in God's own image. In the image of God were they created, establishing from the beginning that consciousness mirrors the divine architect perfectly. This verse confirms the lessons learned from reading the works of Neville Goddard. Humans are not distant copies, but exact imagers of the Creator, endowed with imagination as the tool of manifestation. Male and female alike bear this stamp, meaning no one is excluded from wielding the power that spoke worlds into being. The profound ache of feeling unworthy or powerless finds validation here, yet also dissolution, as the text affirms inherent divine likeness. Moving deeper, the phrase "in the image of God" reveals that every thought formed in awareness carries creative authority, just as the original voice shaped light from void. Neville Goddard paralleled this beautifully, teaching that assuming states in imagination mirrors God's fiat of "let there be," compelling form to arise in harmony. So God created them reflects the multiplicity of expressions from one consciousness, each person a unique facet manifesting through assumption. Practical application emerges. To speak lack in feeling is to recreate separation. To assume unity brings forth abundance reflecting divine wholeness. Those who have wandered in spiritual dryness sense this truth stirring, ready to empower them beyond mere survival into creative dominion. The verse culminates in repetition for emphasis. In the image of God were they created, underscoring that this is not a partial gift, but the full inheritance of conscious creation. Through Neville's lens, this empowers anyone feeling stuck to revise their inner dialogue, assuming identities of health, provision, and joy as native rights. Biblical confirmation meets inner knowing, the same power that formed stars pulses in personal imagination, awaiting bold assumption to flow outward. Empowerment follows naturally, as recognizing this likeness dissolves self-doubt, replacing it with quiet command over circumstances. Lives long burdened by "not enough" awaken to "I am enough," their realities shifting to honor this sacred truth. This ancient text validates the silent struggles of those who have questioned their place in a seemingly indifferent universe. Neville's interpretation applies it directly. Use imagination prayerfully, assuming the end, and watch divine image expressed through perfected conditions. No intermediary needed, for the image-bearer holds the authority to declare and see it done. Conscious assumption becomes the bridge, turning awareness of heritage into lived reality of abundance and purpose. In embracing this, one steps from victimhood into the original design of co-creator with unwavering confidence. Genesis thus stands as eternal witness. God in human form assumes, and the assumed becomes seen, felt, and lived. The validation of past pains gives way to empowered action, as inner states align with this imaged divinity. Neville's wisdom marries scripture here, offering tools for any seeker to claim their birthright today. Conscious creation flows effortlessly when likeness is assumed, transforming ordinary existence into sacred expression. This truth, once lived, renders all striving obsolete, replaced by serene sovereignty. Awakening to the truth of God in human form ignites a profound shift where reality bends to match the assumed inner state with increasing clarity. In the lessons learned from reading the works of Neville Goddard, this awakening reveals that dormant potentials stir when old identities are gently set aside for bolder ones. No longer does one plead with fate. Instead, the awakened consciousness declares through feeling what shall be, and the universe complies without resistance. Lives once marked by hesitation bloom into bold expressions, as assumptions of capability replace echoes of inadequacy. What hidden landscapes of possibility await discovery when assumption claims its throne within? This transformation hinges on recognizing creative responsibility. Every condition reflects a prior assumption, inviting revision through deliberate inner choice. Neville taught that to dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled, sensing completion now, compels outer forms to mirror that inner conviction organically. Concrete examples abound. One assumes radiant health amid discomfort, and vitality returns, assumes harmonious relationships, and connections deepen naturally. Far from fantasy, these manifestations arise as consciousness, unburdened by doubt, expresses its divine nature through human channels. The key lies in persistence, nurturing the new state until it eclipses the old like dawn overtaking night. Deeper revelations emerge as one grasps that no desire exists outside the self, all stemming from the infinite well of "I am," seeking fuller expression. Neville's wisdom unveils bolder truths. Assumptions not only attract, but literally script timelines, weaving probabilities into certainties through focused imagination. Practical shifts follow. Financial flow assumed as natural abundance dissolves scarcity. Career fulfillment felt now draws opportunities aligning perfectly. This prepares the ground for practices that anchor these truths, turning abstract knowing into embodied power. How does embracing full authorship feel when every longing points back to untapped divine capacity? The interplay of assumption and manifestation reveals itself in subtle daily victories building to monumental change. From Neville's enduring teachings, vivid inner scenes, Conversations won, goals celebrated, peace embodied, become self-fulfilling as they impress the subconscious deeply. Revelations grow bolder. Time itself yields to strong assumptions, compressing what seemed distant into present reality. One who assumes leadership amid uncertainty finds doors opening, assumes love's reciprocity, and it returns amplified. Preparation for action intensifies, as inner certainty overflows into inspired outer steps. As awakening deepens, the human form becomes a willing instrument for divine ideas to take shape through effortless assumption. Neville emphasized that resistance fades when the assumed state feels more real than current appearances, paving the way for seamless transformation. Examples multiply. Wellness assumed amid fatigue brings renewed energy. Prosperity felt now magnetizes provision from unseen sources. These truths, once revolutionary, become daily rhythms, priming the soul for the practices that seal them into permanence. In this readiness, one stands poised to live not as supplicant, but as sovereign creator incarnate. The impact of embracing God in human form through assumption reaches into the core of existence, redefining suffering as self-imposed veils ready to lift. In the lessons learned from reading the works of Neville Goddard, this truth exposes how unexamined states have scripted lives of quiet desperation, now ripe for rewriting. Existence itself transforms when one realizes every limitation was assumed, and every freedom awaits the same simple inner choice. No corner of life remains untouched. Health, relationships, purpose all realign to the dominant consciousness now fully awake. What existential doors creak open when divine identity dissolves the illusion of separation forever? A powerful metaphor arises. The body as a theater where mind directs scenes, spirit provides the script, and assumption sets the stage for enactment. Neville's insights culminate here, showing how unified awareness, body feeling what mind assumes, spirit affirming the whole, manifests without friction. Challenges once seen as enemies become teachers, revealing assumptions needing revision for harmony to prevail. This holistic connection demands a new way of being, not fragmented striving, but integrated presence where divine wholeness flows through every cell and circumstance. How does the theater of life change when the director assumes a starring role of effortless mastery? Living this truth reshapes the human experience from endurance to exaltation, every breath a conscious act of creation. Neville taught that profound assumptions ripple outward, turning mundane routines into sacred rituals of manifestation. The call echoes, step beyond old skins of doubt into garments of innate divinity, where peace is not sought but embodied. No more half measures. Full assumption invites a state where desires dissolve into already is realities. In this elevated being, one navigates with grace, knowing all aligns to inner command. The existential weight of forgotten godhood lifts, replaced by lightness of sovereign expression in daily form. From Neville's revelations, impacts cascade. Assumed vitality invigorates the frame, clarity sharpens decisions, joy infuses interactions. Metaphors of theater deepen, audience of one, consciousness, applauds the play it authors, seamless and profound. Body, mind, spirit synchronize in divine rhythm, manifesting symphonies from silent assumptions. This prepares the transition to practice, where knowing becomes doing in fluid unity. Transitioning now, the stage is set for embodied truth. Assume the new state fully, and let integrated being bring it forth. Neville's wisdom guides toward this crescendo, where existential depths yield to practical heights of lived divinity. The powerful call resounds through unified awareness, beckoning full embodiment of God in form. No delay remains. The new state awaits assumption to breathe life into every moment. Here, preparation meets action in perfect, transformative flow. One transformative symbolic practice emerges to anchor the truth of God in human form, the mirror of assumption ritual, performed in quiet evening reflection. Begin by sitting comfortably before a literal mirror or in vivid inner visualization, softening the gaze to see beyond surface appearances to the divine awareness gazing back. Gently close eyes and summon a single scene implying your deepest wish fulfilled, perhaps receiving heartfelt congratulations on a longed-for achievement, feeling its warmth as already complete. Dwell in this scene, cycling through it slowly, allowing every sense to confirm its reality until natural joy arises without force. If subscribing to the Neville Goddard Code channel and activating notifications deepens this shared journey, it connects you with kindred explorers of truth. As the scene saturates your feeling, whisper inwardly the affirmation rooted in I am the fulfilled one, God expressing effortlessly through this form, letting it resonate like an ancient echo awakening dormant power. Open eyes to the mirror, meeting your gaze with soft certainty, as if witnessing the Creator who has already decreed the new reality into being. Breathe deeply 3 times, each inhale drawing the assumed state deeper into body and subconscious, each exhale releasing old doubts like mist under sun. Repeat nightly for 7 days, not as rigid duty, but as loving communion with your true nature, noting subtle shifts in daily flow. This subtle unfolding honors the divine within, inviting manifestation without strain. The ritual's power lies in its simplicity, mirroring Neville Goddard's emphasis on feeling the end as a bridge from inner knowing to outer form. Variations arise naturally. For health, envision vitality coursing through veins. For harmony, feel embraces of reconciliation already exchanged. What unspoken longing dissolves when nightly assumption claims its fulfillment before sleep seals it in the subconscious garden? Gentle persistence builds momentum, transforming ritual into reflex, life into living prayer. In this way, human form becomes holy ground for divine expression to dance freely. Each step invites deeper surrender to the law of assumption's flow, where effort yields to elegant inevitability. Neville's teachings remind that such practices thrive on faith in consciousness as sole creator, unhindered by appearances. The mirror symbolizes self-recognition, no longer stranger to power, but intimate with the I am that authors all. Shared through channels like the Neville Goddard Code, these tools multiply blessings for all who engage sincerely. Transformation whispers through consistency, turning seekers into seers of their own divinity. Does this practice stir the recognition that assumption is the breath of God moving through you, birthing worlds anew each night? In its embrace, all teachings converge. Genesis likeness, Neville's vision, unified being into one transcendent truth. Consciousness alone creates, assumes, and becomes. The human form, once veil, now vessel of infinite expression, echoes opening realization in closing revelation. Empowerment eternalizes here. Assume divinity now, and watch existence unfold as sacred, self-authored symphony. God in you completes the circle, manifesting as wholeness forever remembered, deeply felt, eternally lived.